is about telling Wall Street, sorry, you are never again going to destroy our economy because of your greed and recklessness and illegal behavior. We bailed out the banks because they were too big to fail. Well, turns out that 3 out of the 4 largest banks are today much larger than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. You know what we got to do? We got to break them up. There are Republican candidates running all over the country talking about family values. I want everybody here to know what they are talking about, because what they are saying is that no woman in this room, in this state, in this country should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. What they are saying is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to get married. I disagree. It is the ultimate in hypocrisy for Republicans who tell us how much they hate the government to suddenly say, oh yes, we think the government at state and federal level should tell every woman in this country what she must do. That is hypocrisy. Now, I have been criticized for thinking too big. Well, let me tell you a big idea, and you tell me whether it is right or wrong. In the year 2016, when we talk about public education, we cannot just talk about first grade through 12th grade. The world has changed. A college degree today in many ways is equivalent to what a high school degree was 50 years ago. And that is why I believe that when we talk about public education, we're talking about making public colleges and universities tuition free. I want every child in this country, regardless of his or her income, and my parents never went to college, we never had much money. I want every kid in this country who studies hard, does their schoolwork well, to be able to get a college education regardless of the income of their family. And here is another issue I am criticized about every day, and that is I happen to believe that when every major country on earth, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Scandinavia, Canada, manages to provide health care to all of their people, we can do the same. So let me be very, very clear. No ambiguity here. I believe that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. The Affordable Care Act, which I helped to write, has done some very good things. We have ended the so-called pre-existing condition. We have provided some health insurance to 17 million more Americans, and we've ended discrimination against women who are paying higher premiums because they were women. End of that. But, today, despite the gains of the ACA, 29 million people in America have no health insurance, and many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and copayments. Yes? Further, we are being ripped off every day in an unconscionable way by the pharmaceutical industry that charges us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. You want to hear crazy? Here's crazy. 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford to fill the prescriptions their doctors write. 1 out of 5 cannot afford to fill the prescriptions their doctors write. They go to the doctor, they get a diagnosis, they get a prescription, they can't afford to fill it. What happens when you can't afford to fill the prescriptions? You get sicker. That is crazy. So when we have a situation where so many people are uninsured, underinsured, sky-high prices for drugs, what we need to do is to understand that we pay far, far more than any other major country on earth for healthcare. You all know that. We spend almost 3 times more than the British, 50% more than the French, far more than the Canadians. Now, in my view, what healthcare is about is not the insurance companies and the drug companies ripping us off and making huge profits. What healthcare is about is providing quality healthcare to all of our people in the most cost-effective way. And that is why I believe we must move toward a Medicare for all healthcare system. Now, if folks come out here in Minnesota tomorrow, and if we do well in future primaries and caucuses in the coming weeks and months, we can win the Democratic nomination. And if that happens, there is nothing more that I would love to do than run against Donald Trump. Now, polls go up and polls go down. I'm not a great believer in polls, but if you look at some of the national polls now and you look at a variety of statewide polls, we are already ahead of Trump, and in some cases pretty far ahead of him. Let me very briefly tell you why I believe we will soundly defeat